Hi there, my name's Thurston, she, her, they, them, and today we'll be discussing whether or not leftist creators should be hiding their Patreon earnings. This is something I commented on in the past, but I've never really gone into any sort of detail about the matter and why we do things the way we do here at Essence of 4, so I thought I might as well do a quick video covering just that, whilst I wrap up some larger projects. But first, a little background. Patreon is a crowdfunding site that was launched in 2013, and it was a game changer for hundreds of thousands of artists. Whilst, for the most part, it offered many of the same features seen on previous crowdfunding sites, like tiered rewards on Kickstarter, Patreon set itself apart by building itself around a subscription-based payment system as opposed to a once-off payment. This meant a contributor, a patron, could support a creator for as long as they enjoyed their art, being charged either monthly or each published piece, depending on which method the creator opted to use. This change was simple yet brilliant for several reasons. For a start, giving on Patreon was generally safer. Since the patron typically gave a smaller amount each month and could cancel their subscription at any point, that gave creators a clear incentive to stick around and keep creating. They couldn't just cash in and run off with the money like so many had done on previous crowdfunding sites, reducing the overall risk involved, making people more likely to support unknown artists. This went on to offer said artists a relatively stable source of income, something that was groundbreaking for those who lacked the numbers to finance themselves via ad revenue or the renown to pull brand deals. So in all, everyone seemed to benefit from the change, including myself. I can still recall my very first month, May of 2014, consisting of a healthy $47 US. Trust me, that's pretty good compared to AdSense, especially considering how it was my first month using the service. Yet even then, I had no idea just how important Patreon would go on to become. By the time I finished university and moved to India to be with Aditya, it was my primary source of income, earning us $471 a month. It's that support that not only put a roof over our heads and food on our table, but allowed Aditya to take a year sabbatical to recover from the trauma she had suffered during the year we were separated. So I am well and truly aware of just how important Patreon is as a creator. I am blessed by just how supportive people have been of the channel. That said, I can't deny that I catch myself eyeing people who hide their Patreon earnings with suspicion, particularly when it's people espousing leftist ideals. So I took some time to reflect on why that is, and the main reason I came back with boils down to the sense of trust that has been placed in me as a creator. Being a creator of any kind is a privilege, one I've been given as a leftist on the promise that I'll spend my time learning about and promoting a better world. Now, the focus of that work differs from creator to creator, even among leftist circles. I think it's pretty obvious where most of my passion lies, with the LGBT+ community. But there's still an essential understanding of the horrors of capitalism that comes with being a leftist, and it's that knowledge that makes me feel like I owe it to those who have entrusted me with this privilege to be as transparent as possible. People's money is finite, there's only so much to go around, and people are already being exploited under capitalism. So it makes sense that your average person has to be careful about how much money they can give, which leads many to budget which creators they can and cannot support. One of the pieces of information used to reach an informed decision about where that money would best be spent is how much any particular creator is earning. Yes, I have no doubt that there are people who don't care about this in the slightest, they just know they like someone, so that's who gets the money. Those are not the people I'm talking about. They're not affected by this information being public or not. But for a lot of people, including myself, figuring out who would most benefit from our support is part of our decision when giving to others. So when someone opts to hide that information, I feel like they're making it more difficult for people to make an informed decision about who to support with what little money they can spare. Subsequently, due to many people preferring to err on the side of caution, I feel like hiding your earnings, masking how well off you are financially, acts as a means of pressuring people to send you money. That it might push people to do so, people who wouldn't have done such had the information been public. And whilst it might be a coincidence, I get the sense that the people doing so know this to some degree. Because it's not lost on me how practically all of the original breadtubers, the ones that emerged post-Gamergate, the largest leftist creators on YouTube, do this. It seems like they all reached a certain size before deciding to hide how much they earn. A part of me can't help but wonder if they're doing so because of the obscene amount they earn, with the low-end estimates on some of them being $20,000 to $30,000 a month. That's $240 to $360 annually, numbers that will turn away a sizable chunk of new patrons. Now, to be clear, artists, creators, whatever you want to call us, should be able to thrive, not just survive. What that will mean will depend on the creator and where they live. For me, $1,000 a month would be a life changer. I'd not only be able to survive, but I'd be able to live comfortably. That plus Adidas income might even be enough to look into buying an apartment for ourselves, freeing us from the hell that is landlords. That said, that won't be true for everyone, especially those living in the global north. They'll need to earn several thousand a month just to stay afloat, and again, I do think they should be able to do more than simply survive. They should be able to thrive whilst doing the important work they do. But even if you live in one of the most expensive cities in the global north, you do not need $20,000 to $30,000 a month. That's just obscene, and that's the low-end estimate for some of these people. That's assuming an average pledge of $1 to $2, when it's more likely to be around the $5 mark, at least in my experience, meaning we're talking closer to $100,000 to $150,000 a month. That is ridiculous, and again, this money is being drawn out of people already suffering under capitalism, which is why I feel like it's taking advantage of a group of people who have already been taken advantage of. Now, you might say, well, we don't know how that money is spent. Some larger creators are known to hire teams of people to help them. And you know what? You're absolutely right. But those creators are often open about the fact that they hire other people, meaning that's something potential patrons can factor in when deciding who to pledge to. A good example of this is James Stephanie Sterling, who, when you go to their Patreon page, has their earnings public, which is something I really admire about them. By having this information public, James Stephanie Sterling is empowering their patrons. Another secondary reason I side-eye the practice is that part of me feels like the act of hiding what we earn is just antithetical to basic leftist praxis. Like, unions have spent decades fighting to defend the right of workers to discuss their pay, only for leftist figures to hide that information. And whilst I realise that it's a different set of circumstances, the wage thing is to make sure nobody is being ripped off more than anyone else, I still feel we should be open about what we earn in a show of solidarity with said wage workers. Since we as leftists want to normalise talking about wages in public, how about those of us who don't have to fear reprisal take the first step in doing so? The last thing I want to mention here, and this is just to make my intentions clear, this is not a rallying cry to start kicking down the doors of creators who hide their income, merely the start of what I hope will become a genuine conversation as leftism continues to evolve in the era of the internet. That's why this video is a little looser than my usual pieces. I don't consider myself to have any sort of solid conclusion, just a few concerns I feel the need to air. It's possible that I'm simply missing something, that there are other reasons, potentially good reasons, for hiding one's Patreon earnings. But if so, nobody has bothered explaining those reasons, which is part of why I'm creating this video. I'm not looking for a fight, just questioning the way certain people are doing things. The moment this video goes out, someone might comment on this video with a really good explanation as to why it's a good idea to hide Patreon earnings, but as much as that's a possibility, I can't base my worldview around a hypothetical. All I can do is post on the matter, opening up discussion, leading to what is hopefully a healthy conversation. Though what do you think? Can you come up with any reasons why someone might hide their Patreon earnings? Are there any other issues with hiding earnings that you can think of? What factors do you use when deciding on who to support? Did you notice anything I missed? If so, let me know in the comments down below. And if you appreciate what we do here and want to help out, please consider becoming one of our wonderful patrons who make our work possible. On that note, we'd just like to thank the following people: Matthew Kovac, Gert Van Voorst, Hannah Banghart, Marblewings, Sosh Daniels, Flynn, and Higgins the Seagull. And for myself, Adita and Levi, take care now.